Good morning, everybody. It is Jillian. So, you know how I am with the conspiracy world. I go back and forth with it, of course, because there is truth and credibility to every single thought process, idea, scenario, lifestyle, belief system, politics, religion, and science. Okay, fine. And so I remember back in 2012 when 2012 when the conspiracy world in my world was ramping up. But way before that, things were getting set in motion 12 years earlier or 11 years earlier than that. Things were getting set in motion. So what do I mean by that? Well, 9/11 happened. And then I did some research on stem cells, because I'm thinking like cancer cells. Why is cancer so prevalent in children today? Why is cancer so prevalent in adults? Why is cancer just going off the freaking hook right now in this climate change? And so, you know, we're in a great reset. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. Maybe you think it's a conspiracy. Okay, fine. But you know that we're in climate change. You can call it climate change. You can call it a great reset. You can call it the fourth turning. You can call it an economical downturn, economical upturn. You can call it whatever you want, because there's a billion names for what you're calling this. You can call this like the age of Aquarius. But we're in an economic downturn. We're also in a new world. We're in a great reset. And so 2001, 9/11, 2001 was the beginning of it. But then a month prior, there was a thing that Bush said, that he was going to stop federal funding for embryonic stem cells. But then 12 years later, they're saying that he actually supported it. So then I'm thinking like, you know, cancer is so prevalent now, and cancer is basically embryonic stem cells. They are juveniles, they're the babies, they're the vampiruses. They are the horror stories. They are the ones that eat up memories. They destroy humans. But how can that be if we're making up stem cells? If we make our own stem cells? Remember, when you have children in your house, let's pretend you have children in your house, and they need so much from you. They need clothing, they need to be fed, they want money for the mall, they want you to pay for all of their stuff. And so mama or daddy is working feverishly, not only at home, doing all the laundry, doing all the cooking, cleaning, especially if these kids are spoiled, and then also going to work and providing the money train for that child. And so the children are cannibalizing the parents. Well, not that different inside. When you have chaotic stem cells, that are also eating up the person on the inside. And so then you're like, okay, so I'm going to hear about, the 1970s and the drug culture, like the major drug culture, the LSD, the MK Ultra, civil rights, LGBT rights, all that stuff. Weather Underground, Black Panthers, the Society for Students for a Democratic Society or something, the SDS, and then all the cults and all the hippies, and then all the alchemy, all the herbs and the extracts and the tinctures, and the holistic healing. And what is that? What do you think that all the tinctures and the holistic healing develops? They develop stem cells, because it's positive and negative. Positive times a negative equals something that is like a stem cell. But that stem cell is, what it's supposed to do is you're supposed to have some of them when you're in contact with something new. You develop them so you acclimate to the new environment, and then anything in excess is supposed to be released. But that's not happening. The anti-inflammatories, plus then all the conflicting antigen antibody programming, developing so many stem cells in people who are not releasing them, then are developing these crazy cancers. whatever they are. Okay. And so then I'm like, okay, so then I was doing research last night. I'm like, and I was looking up when was stem cells, when were they introduced, or who did what, or when, what, and I came upon where it says 8/9/2001, President Bush said he put a ban on federal funding. But it doesn't mean anything, because 8/9/2001, you put a ban on federal funding, okay, but they're still private. So, but then it says, so then President Bush is the first president to provide federal funding for human embryonic stem cell research. But then why did George Bush stop stem cell research? And so that's why there's so much confusion. That's why there's so many people who are for and against, who are on both sides, because you're getting two separate stories, both conflicting with each other. And no wonder we have the Tower of Babel out there. When you have one article that says President Bush from the White House archive says is the first president to provide federal funding for human embryonic stem cell research. Since 2001, the administration has made more than $170 million available to research on stem cell lines derived from human embryos that has already been destroyed. Okay? And then on the other hand, you have, why did George Bush stop stem cell research? Bush restricted the federal funding for research on stem cell obtained from human embryos because technology required the destruction of human life. At its core, this issue forces us to confront fundamental questions about beginning of life and the ends of life, the ends of science. And I'm just like, so someone who was just like, what wants to choose a side that, George Bush, when we find out that the stem cells are what is causing all of our cancers, now you have these articles that are playing both sides of the fence. Somebody's covering their butt, right? CYA, right? Cover your ASS. Okay, so when I juxtapose the 8/9/2001 stem cell research, because he did provide funding for stem cell research, and then 9/11/2001, the fourth turning starts, the Twin Towers, the World Trade Center. And then 2001, and then you have the NDAA, and then the whole sustainability, the green machine, which, okay, that, and the coining the climate change, and now you see where we are today. And so cancer is out of control stem cells. Autism is stem cells eating up mature memories, overproduction of stem cells not allowed to be purged from the body. Cancer stem cells are a subpopulation of tumor cells that can derive tumor initiation and can cause relapses at the time point of tumor initiation. Cancer stem cells originate from either differentiated cells or adult tissue resident stem cells. So differentiated cells means that positive and negative came together and you have two different, like a hybrid that's turning into, another entity. And so with my dog, she has that little mass, but that mass is now becoming part of her. That mass is now finally spreading, and it's developing her undercarriage and giving her muscles, giving back some of her memories. It's a slow process. Last night was amazing that she was running around the deck and running around the house, since it was such high energy, as if she didn't lose any memory. Remember, I said that she had a luxating patella. Oh, what's a luxating patella? When there's a limp on the right side or left side, or she's favoring one side or the other. But last night, you couldn't tell that was going on, right? Because I was feeding her the fish, okay, the fish and the juice of the fish oil. And I was feeding her olive oil too, with her milk and all the stuff that I put together, the Gerber and all the stuff from the powdered stuff, the RX supplement from the vet, milk supplement, the Similac, regular milk, and then even her dog chow that's all mixed together, and and then also that pie that I made that has the flour and the cornmeal with the vegetables and the chicken, and I also put a little bit of pork lard in there too. So she's getting so much stuff, and it's all in a bottle. See, that's how you're able to get mass amounts of nutrition in your dog, especially when, like, I put food in front of her, and I'll, even when I hand feed her the chunks, she sort of eats it and she gets encouraged, but really it's the bottle that is giving her the massive shot of nutrition, like shots of nutrition. And I was really power feeding her yesterday, like power feeding her. I was telling Kim yesterday, when she's saying that she was having, to deal with mucus and all that stuff from being cold because the electricity was flickering on and off over there in North Ohio. And I said, maybe she needs to drink some milk so you can release some demons, get ahead of this, what's going on. She's like, well, I had yogurt. I'm like, no, you got to really power feed yourself. You have to, like what I do with my dog, people have to do it to themselves, especially when they're dealing with cancer disease, chronic illness, or they have certain blood types that are causing so much kinetic energy that it's eating up so many resources, eating up their memories, potentially. You could trigger that if you don't get ahead of it. And so you got to power feed yourself and start pulling out that fecal plug, because that fecal plug holds all of those stem cells, which is why people are contracting cancer in this environment, because people have fecal plugs. They're getting bigger and bigger and bigger, or smaller and smaller and smaller, or even smarter and smarter and smarter, but they're not releasing the demons. And so then what happens, people have aggressive cancers that they can't get ahead of because this environment, like last night and today, I felt the heat. Like I've been feeling the heat. My bathroom right now with the plumbing in the shower, it is just continuously dripping. And it happened a couple years ago, in the wintertime. And I'm thinking like, but see, I've only been in this house since 2019. Okay, so I have nothing really big, but it didn't, it only happened at a certain time and then it stopped. And now it's happening continuously and it's even getting more aggressive. The more that I'm feeling the heat from the climate change, from the frequencies, the more aggressive the water is trying to pour out and is pushing past, the pressure is pushing past whatever, plumbing that's going on. So I know my husband's gonna have to fix it or figure out how to fix it, because our water bill and our electric bill will be insane because the water heater keeps kicking on. I'm just like, geez, And so I've been feeling it. Like I've been seriously feeling this environment. So you got to get ahead of this. You got to get ahead of whatever's going on. And that's why breaking your food down to a baby food state and massively power feeding yourself, like I'm doing with my dog. And I'm also make sure that I express her anal glands, because when I expressed her anal glands last week, all this yellow fluid came out. Like this yellow fluid and plus a bunch of poop came out. But I did it in the bathtub when I was giving her a bath, and I'm like, okay, I know she's acting a little weird. And so when I expressed her anal glands, holy shit, so much came out. And so nowadays I'm expressing her anal glands a bit more just to see what's coming out. And yeah, I mean, the smells are different. Before she would pass stuff on her own, but it smelled like semen. Now it smells like ferment, which is a good thing. That means that it's a healthy, release. It's like when you're smelling your jars of ferments and it smells like shit. Like my husband, I'm telling you, he hated the smell of my ferments because it would smell like a sewer system. But that's good. And so when I'm smelling my dog shit, which is really crazy, why would you do that? Because the smells tell you everything. The smells tell you everything. And so she has a stem cell inside of her that's a little bit different, but she is assimilating to it and it's assimilating to her, and that's her new evolution. That's what's so amazing about what's going on. And so power feeding her and power feeding that entity inside of her is she's going to become a stronger dog because of it. I can't make this up. This is, let me tell you, I'm not that inventive to make this up. But again, why they do experiments on rats and dogs and cats and all that, because they are the closest things to humans. I mean, not the closest things, but they do have the same kind of stimulus reactions and the same kind of, system types, though there's certain, we're basically very similar. Okay. That's why we are friends with animals like cats and dogs, because we are very similar to each other. And so the little babies were eating her memories, and then me power feeding her is getting her memories back. because I'm allowing her parent cells, who were, who are still there, but the babies were in control and the babies were eating everything in sight. That's why. So her body was so slight and that the mass was getting bigger, but now her body is getting bigger and the mass is getting a little bit smaller and smaller, and it's eventually going to assimilate. And so you're seeing then the merging of the two entities together. And that's what I figured was going to happen, because I'm feeling, that mass, and it's getting softer towards her anus. And so I see, and then I also see that she is getting stronger. And so that mass actually is giving her the life. You don't want to cut out anything in your body. That's what people are doing. They're starving the masses in their body. They're cutting it out. They're taking anti-inflammatories to trap things in their body. It's, and that's why people are a mess. That's why people are a fucking mess. And so, hold on a second. Cancer stem cells means you have trapped so many conflicts in your closed immune system. The babies are eating up parental memories, and the misalignment of parent and child is happening. It is like allowing a 3-year-old to run their 25 or 30-year-old parent and run the house and finances. All out chaos. And so cancer stem cells may involve deregulation of or alteration of the niche by dominant proliferation. You see, dominant proliferation. Promoting signals, whereas normal stem cells have been supported by niche, which provides homeostasis maintenance. And so when I was looking at beta catenine, beta, like, you have alpha, the parent, beta is the child or the subservient one. And so beta cells are the ones that are the babies. You have the alpha, which is the primary, the normal stem cells, and then you have the beta ones, which is the cancer stem cells. That's the issue people have right now. They have an alteration of the niche by dominant proliferation. But instead of merging with AI, people are resisting it, and the AI is destroying them. That's what artificial intelligence is when you're merging two different entities together, and they have to merge together. You can't have one or the other in this environment, because you always will be exposed to someone. Your immune system has to adapt. That's the thing, is adaptation, evolution, mutation, differentiation. And then there's senescence, and there's apoptosis, and there's entropy and negentropy. I mean, you have all these words for the same thing, but in essence, you as the parent cells have to get ahead of the children's cells. You have to be the one to always be in control and to guide your little babies correctly so they don't turn into chaotic messes out there in the world. And that's no different in a household, no different than inside your body. And so, yeah, cancer stem cells may involve deregulation of alteration of the niche by dominant proliferation, promoting signals, whereas normal stem cells has support and been supported by niche, which provided homeostasis maintenance. And so embryonic stem cells are pluripotent stem cells derived from the inner cell mass of a blastocyst, an early stage pre-implantation embryo. Human embryos reach the blastocyst stage 4 to 5 days post-fertilization, at which time they consist of 50 to 150 cells. And you imagine then when you have 100 and 150 cells, okay, and then you have eventually become 69 trillion microbes. That's a lot of replication. That's a lot. So dementia, a stem cell baby's transitional beta catenin, eating up the parents' memories. Parents. That's what dementia is. My dog went through a type of autism. She had like an autism. That's dementia. Dementia, autism, same thing, but autism, you're like, okay, in a kid. But they don't call an adult who is losing their memories autistic, because the context would be like crazy. No, they call it dementia because it has a context, because they're in their geriatric. So it's, the geriatrics that get dementia, and it's the kids that get the autism, right? But it's all the same shit. You see how words separate, words develop worlds? And so when you're starving your body, you're starving your body's ability to be able to remember shit. And that's where people are shooting themselves in the foot by demonizing food. Because food saved my fucking dog. But I'm seeing people out there starving themselves, starving their kids, starving their friends and family because they're too afraid to merge in with the whole environment. And so they're starving their bodies and starving their potential evolution. But food is the fucking answer. All food. Anything FDA approved, sold in the grocery store, even in the ground when you're growing your food, all food is perfectly fine. Processed food too. Of course, there's a balance, but then eventually when you become balanced, you won't be craving too many crazy foods. Let me tell you, when I eat, I had chicken last night. I'm having my coffee with milk and cream, a lot more milk and cream. If I get hungry, I'll make a burrito or put a burrito in the microwave or eat a cookie. I made, sugar cookies the other day. I'll make some rice or yeah. And so, I don't have to eat. So I'm not craving so many things. I crave my coffee because I like to wake up and have coffee. But let me tell you, I'm not eating as much as I did when my body was going through that transition where I felt the crazy ass hunger and the crazy ass fatigue and the crazy ass everything. No, now I'm so energetic that I barely sleep, but when I do, I sleep good. I don't dream. My dog's sleeping really great right now, and she looks like she's filled out so well. And so, yep, this was all intentional. And being right is one thing, surviving this process is another. So what do you mean by this is all intentional? Well, when you're introducing the research with stem cells, what do you think is going to freaking happen? That's a Pandora's box. That's all over the medical holistic system. Every single therapy you get, which, they're not poison in of itself, but if you can't control those stem cells, if you can't release the demons and you can't merge in with this world and lengthen your telomeres and merge in with the new information, those stem cells are going to eat you out of house and home, no different than children that are on the parents' payroll forever. And that's what's going on right now. The aging process, a bunch of stem cells are eating you out from the inside, as well as cancer, disease, and chronic illness, and autoimmune disorders, and autism. It's all out there in the population. It's not just from one specific therapy. Autism could be from you being exposed to somebody else who has, some kind of cocktail of stuff that is in all the right conditions will cause then a regression in that child or in that adult. I don't know. I haven't heard of any adults become autistic. It's usually at the child stage, but I don't know. I mean, if adults losing memory, and you can call that, early onset dementia, early onset of Alzheimer's. Okay. But that's what autism, Alzheimer's, dementia, MS, all that has to do with the stem cells. The migrating stem cells that weren't under control and weren't released and were trapped in a closed system. And so embryonic stem cells can become any type of cell thanks to an ancient virus, ancient hydra, scientists say. A hydra, a virus that invaded the genome of humanity's ancestors millions of years ago, now plays a critical role in the embryonic stem cells from which all cells in the human body derive. New research shows. March 30th, 2014. Ancient virus DNA gives stem cells the power to transform. And we're in it right now. I feel stronger. My dog looks stronger. But many people out there who don't understand what's going on, they're aging faster. Might be even smarter. I mean, look at the crypto billionaire that died around, age 30. He developed the crypto whole thing. That's smart. We've got some major smart CRISPR kids, but they're not surviving this environment. And how do you know if your kids are CRISPR'd? You don't know. With all the therapies out there in the medical holistic system and everyone's doing experimental stuff on your kids and on you, you have no idea what your kids have and what they're going to be able to survive unless you get ahead of it, parents. But parents are, not all parents, but a lot of parents are oblivious. They really don't know what the fuck's going on. And just because, your friends and family are in the medical holistic system doesn't mean that they understand really what's going on. And so when you have a crypto billionaire dying at 30, when you have all these died suddenlies going on, and you don't know what their background is, but dying suddenly means that they had the inability to acclimate to this new environment, and you have no idea what's in your kid's genome. You kind of do, because you have predisposed issues. But again, if you don't get ahead of this and figure this out pretty soon, it is plain Russian roulette, because you don't know if another frequency is going to take out your kid or take out you. That's the scary thing about having children right now. And they're living their life as if nothing has changed in our society. That's what's crazy. That's what I flip out on. Is that I have friends and family and people who think, okay, yeah, we have climate change, but they're not doing anything different. Like doing nothing different. Oh, but I did a few saltwater flushes, Jillian. I did the J juice. Yeah, okay. It's not the J juice. That's the thing. It's not relying on the J juice. It's literally realizing that you and your kids have to be so sick to release the demons and pull the fecal plug out, so then you have control over your life. But again, how do you tell a kid this? How do you tell a parent this, to say this to their kids? And and then do you put it on Facebook? Probably not. But I'm going to assume a lot of parents out there, even in the JJ world, not so much like John or some other people, but I'm going to assume that most people in my JJ world haven't even figured out the whole fecal plug. Haven't even figured it out. I'm going to assume that. Because that's too taboo. Oh my God, touching your butt. Oh my God, pulling out the poop. Oh my God. I know how people think. They'd rather give themselves to the medical system where they can have somebody else put their hands in them, but they won't put their hands in themselves. That's for damn sure. And then they're all like, well, and they think it's weird that you put your hands in your own self to pull out stuff, but they don't think it's weird to have somebody else put their hands in you. A stranger. I don't care if they're a licensed professional or not, but a stranger putting your hands in your kids, a stranger putting your hands in you, why is that accepted, but putting your hands on yourself is not accepted? That's what's crazy. And so, yeah, a lot of parents out there are not going to understand this, because they can't even fathom that, because they give themselves away to science. They are the experiment. They don't realize it, but they are. And I kind of laugh at it, because I'm just like, how can you, and they're all worried about, sexual orientation, and yet they have somebody else doing shit to them. And they're worried about sexual orientation, where you have, binary or non-binary. And so I'm just like, whatever, dude, that's fine. That's how messed up our society is. That's how hypocritical our society is they can't even fathom taking care of themselves, but they'll definitely allow somebody else to take care of them on so many levels. Hey, Nick, good morning. Nice to see you. And so what I'm advocating is self-sufficiency. I'm advocating that, you can't control all the stem cells that are floating around in your environment, but you can control how they affect you. You can control how you can get ahead of all this shit. You can control your life from this point forward, because now you have access to the information, whereas you didn't before. Before, everything was under HIPAA, everything was under, university curriculum, where they only gave you so much information based upon their intention. It's all you get. And then all the different jobs in biotech and in the lab were compartmentalized. And so you had one area where they were taking apart these proteins, another area they were going and trying to find proteins, another area they were going and doing this with these proteins and selling them here and selling them there. And so everyone was in their functional silos, and there was cross-functional communication, but very limited, where you didn't understand the bigger picture. And then, bam, here we are today. People are dropping like flies because we did not want to understand how the bigger picture worked. We were too compartmentalized. And so when you're so compartmentalized and priding yourself in ignorance, this is what happens. What you're seeing right now where you don't know if you're going to survive this environment. And I'll tell you, doing saltwater flushes and doing your detoxes and getting all of your different therapies is not going to be enough in this freaking environment. It's not going to be enough. And I'll tell you, I told you a couple months back, ever since 2016, 2017, yeah, it was 2017, 2018, I was pulling out the programming. And it was crazy. I even kept hitting for my husband for a while. But I did say on Facebook when I'm showing, like, what is this? Trying to figure out what was in my poop. People were like, oh my God, that's so gross. And so then I stopped talking about it because people were freaking out over it, right? But I still was pulling out the programming for years. Pulling out the programming. And it was for years because I had to. Yes, Nick. So is the Hydra eating us from the inside? And this is, yeah, because you're not pulling out the programming, Nick. Here's the thing. This is what's going to be difficult for those that are younger. When you do the J-Juice, you just do it like a few times. You do a few saltwater flushes, wake up the demons, and you'll do a few waterfalls, okay? But then you're going to contract and wake up demons that you have probably no idea that are in your body. And the worst case scenario could be where you can't see, where you can't hear. Okay, that's worst case scenario. Or you get a heart attack or a stroke or an aneurysm. Okay, so you have to know your family medical history so you know what you're in for. And then you have to deal with all the different symptoms and then feed it with all food in the food supply and then pull out the programming. Actually stick your fingers in your ass and pull out the poop. And it could be impacted fecal matter that is dry and crusted up, and it's like, something you find in the Museum of Natural History, and you have to release that programming. And so that way you then can acclimate to the environment and become an open system. But right now people are in closed systems and thermodynamically closed systems, which means that they take medication to stop their body from releasing. They take medication to disable their prostaglandins from releasing the offending proteins. Some people are feeling pain. They don't want to feel pain. What is the pain? Well, they feel cramps, or they see the hives coming up. They see like stuff coming up in their skin. That's the body releasing. That's the prostaglandins. But what people do, they take their anti-inflammatories. They take their turmeric, their honey, their apple cider vinegar, their Cipro, all the different drugs on the market to stop the body from releasing, trapping those things inside, and then those things are eating you out from the inside. And so the medical holistic system and all the starvation diets have caused people to be cannibalized from the inside. And you learn this from a very young age. Your parents taught you to take a pill, a powder supplement, or some kind of anti-inflammatory, or some kind of aspirin or something to stop the pain, or some kind of allergy medication, or some kind of headache medication, or whatever to stop the pain. And then they say, okay, go get a V, which is fertility, developing stem cells that your body isn't releasing because it's becoming closed and closed and closed and closed. And then people are on diets. And so people are full of stem cells, full of which are basically baby hydra. And that is what's going on. You see it. People are getting bigger and bigger and bigger in this environment because it's all the stem cells and everything just replicating, nowhere to go. Or they're aging faster, becoming skinnier and skinnier and skinnier because the stem cells in their body are eating them out from the inside. Or people are starving themselves. And so you can't really tell because then they're working out. Then you can't even tell what's going on until they die suddenly or they contract some kind of crazy disease. And but people have to understand that they are hydra. They are 69 trillion microbes, and they're also part tardigrade, because tardigrade are also hydra, but it's the evolution of the hydra. It's a hydra coming together, developing an intelligent species like a tardigrade, and then up from that, like a lion or a horse or a pig or even a human. We came from strings of amino acids. The primordial ooze that's coming out of your body when you're mucusing up, that's where life started. Life started with water. That's why when I showed a picture of all those clouds with the lightning bolts, that's all hydra. When I see clouds going over really fast in the middle of the night or during the day and it's going hella fast, I'm like, oh, this is Passover. We're in Passover. The angel of death is passing over us because some people cannot handle that energy and they die suddenly. It's all biblical. And so, yeah, a lot of people are not going to get this because they're too afraid of pulling out their own programming. They're too afraid to eat any food. They're too afraid. They're afraid of everything. And yeah, and they're saying, okay, yeah, people are dying suddenly, but they're not doing anything really about it. They're still afraid of food. They're still doing all their saltwater flushes. They're still trying to mitigate pain, run away from pain. They're still taking their painkillers. And so it sucks to watch people suffer. It sucks because I know what it feels, but I'm telling you, for me, in my world, when I've set my life up for this. When people are at home and they have nothing better to do but be at home, or they're religious and they're going to their churches, but you know what? I'd rather be at home and deal with the pain of releasing and power feeding myself, if I have that kind of situation, which I do, then go out there and ignore this. I mean, I want to feel the pain of evolution. When you have that opportunity, and you have the opportunity, some of you are in that position right now. You're at home. You don't have to go to work 9 to 5 and whatever, and you're not power feeding yourself. You're not pulling out the programming. You're not dealing with yourself. I don't get that. I don't get that scenario. I really don't. Some people can't be at home. They have to go out there. Maybe they're 50% of the breadwinner in the family. Maybe they are the breadwinner in the family, and they can't afford to be at home 5 days a week. Okay, so they have to do this, incrementally. But those that actually have the situation to be at home to do this, and they don't fucking do it, I freak out over that. I'm like, why would you not choose to feel the pain, feed the body, and pull the fucking programming out? Why would you not choose that? Why would you choose everything else but that? That's what I don't get. People in my JJ crowd that are given that gift of time, that gift of autonomy, that gift, and they don't fucking use it. That's what pisses me off about some of my JJ crowd. They take this shit for granted. Well, you were given the time, you were given the space, you were given the information, and you just, what do you call it? You squandered it. You squandered that opportunity. And people are squandering those opportunities. But hey, that's the world that we live in. People take shit for granted until they hit the wall, until they get a diagnosable condition or they die suddenly, and then they're like, okay, now Jillian, what do I do? I've been telling you what to fucking do. I've been telling you, you gotta eat food, feel pain, pull the programming out. If it's that bad, go see a fucking doctor. That's it. That's all I can say. Stay home. Stay safe. Pay attention to yourself. Eat all the food. If you're allergic, then you have to transition and talk to your fucking doctor yet again. But let me tell you, I had to fight for this position. Some of you have been given the position of being at home. Some of you have been given that position to be at home, and you don't take advantage of it. And that's what makes me so mad about some people in my JJ world. They are given an opportunity to actually redirect, and they don't even do it. And they don't care to do it. They can give a shit. I don't even think their life is that valuable to them. I really don't. Oh, but the pain is so great. Yeah, well, it's not going to get any better if you don't fucking deal with it today. But you can't tell them that because they think everything's forever, right? I'm telling you, pain is temporary, but you have to still face it. And you have to give it time. Things don't just happen like that. It takes time. Yeah, it took me 6 years. 6 years of, yeah. And I still was taking care of stuff. I still was, traveling. I was going here and going there and doing stuff. And it wasn't like, during that time I was stay at home the whole time. And so you can still do your stuff, but if you are actually literally power feeding yourself and pulling out the programming, most likely you're going to want to be at home because you'll have headaches, or you'll be a little bit sick, or you'll have hives, or, you'll feel fatigue, and you'll want to stay at home and just, watch something or do something And so it's like, you'll naturally want to stay home. You'll not want to go out and about, especially nowadays. But back in 2017 or 2018, I was traveling around. 2018 and 2019, I visited different places. I went, overseas, went to Portugal, went to Hollywood, went to Washington, D.C. I traveled, but that was before the COVID stuff. And then when COVID came around, everything changed. So now you actually have the perfect opportunity to stay home, stay safe, and deal with yourself. And if some of you don't have to work because you're on Social Security or you have a pension or someone else is supporting you, I don't understand what the deal is, why you can't just grit your teeth and get through this. I don't understand. I really don't. When people are like, well, I don't have much money, go to a food bank. When I first came to Ohio, actually in 2014, not 2010, but when I first came to Ohio for a while, where it was like for a while, not the break that I had in between 2010 and 2014. We didn't have much money. We were staying with relatives. And what did we do? We went to the food bank. We went to the food bank, got whatever food was there. We got the milk. I mean, that's the thing. That's the thing. When you say you don't have much money and you don't have hardly have money for food and all that stuff, go to a food bank. I went to a food bank. We drove to several of them. Okay? There are churches or places where you can get food and get milk and get this and get that. What? I don't understand these people that are pleading all these things, and there's so many resources out there. I know they're becoming slimmer, but let me tell you, when your churches and all the things, food banks are so many, and there's different times you go to them, and even if it's slim pickings, they'll still give you something. Oh, but no, it's processed food. I can't eat processed. That's the issue. Is when you have bought into the processed food, the GMO, can't eat this, can't eat that, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, you've just painted yourself in a hole, into a corner. And that's what goes on out there in the medical holistic. People have cornered themselves into eating nothing because they can't process it, or they have blamed that food for all their issues. That's the depopulation agenda. That's the eating disorders that people have. People say, I have an eating disorder. Okay. The eating disorders is when you have so many issues with food that you can't eat it because of obesity or emaciation. That's the eating disorders that are out there. Obesity, emaciation, and the fear that food's going to cause symptoms. That's the eating disorders out there. I have no eating disorders. I eat everything. I don't eat as much as I used to, but I don't have any eating disorders. If anything, everyone else out there that's pointing the finger at me having an eating disorder has the eating disorder because they have issues. They're too afraid of salt. They're too afraid of water. They're too afraid of symptoms. They're too afraid of everything. And they have hydrate eating away at their memories, causing them bipolar issues, causing them anxiety, causing them all these different symptoms, causing them the accelerated aging process, causing them to have to be dependent on the medical system for the rest of their life. And they're saying, I have a fucking eating disorder? Okay. That's the kettle calling itself black or something. So, but yeah, I just don't get those that have the time to take care of themselves. They don't. They ignore themselves like all hell. And they pride themselves in it. So what do? I just use the information that I see out there, and I use it to help others that are willing to help themselves, that are willing to take the time to take care of themselves. I use these people's example. I use their lifestyle as an example of what not to be. Because I'm telling you, that's not going to last. That's not sustainable. It's not sustainable when you are afraid of food, afraid of symptoms, when you don't pull out that, and when you think about the fecal programming, where the hell did you get that from? That's the bear plugs, the fecal plugs. The bears use that to hibernate so they can be fed throughout the winter when they're hibernating. And that's all different mishmash of pebbles and life forms, microbes, and food sources. And so then when springtime comes and they leave the den, there's a huge fecal plug right there at the entrance of the cave. And then they're out there going about taking on another fecal plug. So then for the next winter. And they feed and feed and feed, and they have babies too at the same time. A few bears, a few cubs. Eat the salmon, eat the grass. Google bear fecal plugs. Google that. Humans have that, and it's torturing them. Well, you're not a bear because you're not releasing those fecal plugs. You're dying from it. Even though bears live to be 25 years and they release a fecal plug, obviously there's still poop in them and they're not releasing at the level that they should, but they have it enough for their lifespan and to drop a few bears too on the way out the door, a few cubs. But humans, you can release that fecal plug and prolong your life. You're not a bear. Okay? And so yeah, you know, science, the intelligent design, we're all related to animals on some level. Once you realize that you are Hydra and that you have a relationship with every single animal out there, then you see the potential, and that's what science has seen, the potential. That's what artificial intelligence is. It's not really artificial, it's just that now you're seeing that you're not like a compartmentalized alien life form. No, you're part of your whole environment. You have a relationship to the insects because they are the microbes within you. You have a relationship to the bears, to the cats, the dogs, to the giraffes, to all the animals, mammals, amphibians, fish. You have a relationship to everything. Okay? And so you're not special. And people think, oh, I'm so special. I'm God's child. Okay. Fine. No, we're all very similar. I'm not even special. The fact that I was able to develop this, well, you know, I went through a lot of hardships in my childhood, and you'll read that in my book, actually. I do put some pretty interesting information. You're like, what the hell? Oh, yeah. You'll see. I mean, I'm going to go through it today and make sure everything is kosher and make sure my publisher, you know, once I give that and that's done, then it'll probably be out by the end of this month, beginning of next month. Because the cover is beautiful, the back is beautiful, you know, and you're getting an introduction to really what the world you're in. And yes, it will talk about the Georgia Guidestones on some level, not too deep, but mentioning the Georgia Guidestones, Rosicrucians. And when you think about it, you know, America is the world. So I don't have to go into such a compartmentalization of all the religions in the world. I mean, I'm mentioning the Rosicrucians because it is Hermeticism, Jewish mysticism, and Christian Gnosticism. Okay? And that's all the religions. That's everything. And then America is the melting pot of the world. And so you don't really have to go into compartmentalizing everything. America is the world. Okay? And so you'll understand then that's who runs everything. Is the Rosicrucian order. Runs it all. And when you finally can accept that and let it be, I don't care. I don't care if it's a billionaire who living on a big house, you know, with a billion servants and a bunch of security and how many lobsters can he eat a day? He can still only eat, you know, 1 or 2 or 5 lobsters. Okay, so it's not like a billionaire has a better life than me. It's the fact that you have life is what makes you a billionaire. People don't get that. They're like, oh, I want what he has. I want the big car and the nice, beautiful house. I have a nice house. I got to fix it up myself. I don't have a team of construction workers to go and fix everything up. But that's okay. You know, I mean, that billionaire is a billionaire for a reason. He was savvy enough to figure out how to swindle people, or he's savvy enough to know how to work the market. Okay. By God, hey, hope your billions help the world. And some do. Some, you know, like the billionaire crypto. Well, he's taking more money than really helping anybody. But hey, that was the system exploiting the CRISPR gene edited kids, and then siphoning resources. Well, that's, you know, like anything, you know, when you make money out of thin air, that's right there a skill into itself. When you can just turn, you know, metal into gold. That's exactly what crypto is turning air into money. And people buy into it. Then you can see how easily manipulated people are, and you can see how greedy people are. So right there, that's just a lesson in social sciences, is crypto. When you're selling air, that's all you're doing. That's what the advertisers do. They sell air, sell airtime. And crypto people sell air. They sell digits. It's just all about converting energy. That's all it is. That's all crypto is. That's all any of these MLMs are, is energy conversion. So if you're going to convert energy, it better be to your benefit. It better not be a major gamble that you can't get ahead of. Let me tell you, the medical holistic system is a gamble. You pulling out your own programming, eating all food in the food supply, and resting is a sure fucking thing. It's a sure thing. Everything else out there, when you depend upon somebody else to give you your life, when you think about it, that's a gamble. When you're dependent on the medical holistic system, it's a gamble. It's a major gamble. I don't depend on the medical holistic system. I don't depend upon gambling. I don't, as a way, no. What's a sure thing? Your body, mind, and spirit, your innovation, your skill sets that you have, your certifications on certain things to make you show people that you are professional in this area or you're certified in this area. That's a sure thing. All the rich, quick shit out there, plastic surgery, gambling. Gambling. The MLMs, gambling. I used to gamble a lot. Let me tell you, I worked in a casino. I understand what gambling is. And then I also played a lot of craps, a lot of pie gout, a lot of blackjack. I loved craps like you would not believe. Oh my gosh. So I understand gambling. Okay. I worked in a casino in Mississippi a long time ago. 2000 actually. 1999, 2000. I worked in a casino. Oh, that was so much fun. Okay, so I don't gamble anymore. Now I am all about sure things. There is no more gambling for me. None. And so politics, religion, and science, all gambling. I am the sure thing. And that's what I want my JJ crowd to realize. They are the sure thing if they understand how to power feed, break their food down, pull out that fecal plug, because the stem cell stuff was started in 2001, right around the Twin Towers. So you got to figure out there's something to that. Of course, it's all speculation. I can't prove it, but there's a conspiracy around that. But look at the outcome. Is the intention. Here we are. And everyone's dropping like flies or contracting cancer. So you tell me there isn't something to that. Now you have to have a sure thing. You cannot depend upon the medical or holistic system. You have to pull out that program, feed your body, rest, release those demons, get your life back. And try to instill that into your kids if they are still listening to you. If they're not, then good luck to them. And good luck to you. Bye.